All right, welcome to Across the Diamond, where we give you a closer look at some of the top players in the state, highlights from this past previous week, along with some interviews with some of baseball's finest at the youth, college, and pro levels. I'm Kennedy Hales, Central Florida Area Scout. Joining us today, Jet Rosenstein, West Florida Area Scout and Player Advisor, along with our scouting director, Mr. Mike Merritts. How you guys doing?
Doing pretty well, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for having us, Kennedy.
Sounds good. All right, Mike, you want to get into it? You started off the week with Sea Breeze versus Spruce Creek. What did you see, man?
Sure, absolutely. So in this one, the home team ended up kind of going away with it here with an 8-1 score, a lot closer earlier on in the game. But one thing I did want to kind of touch on to start the kind of the recap of the game was they actually had a ceremony before the game, and they honored legendary coach Johnny Goodrich, and they actually named the field after him, along with obviously establishing quite a winning culture there over the past number of years. He's had quite a few draft picks that have come out of that program as well, including most recent one, Zach Veen. So there's quite a lot of tradition there. It was an honor for Johnny Goodrich to be at the field. Matt Cleveland, the coach there, spoke, and a lot of his former players came out and supported him. So that was great to see. Getting into the game, though, a little bit of a close affair early on. The biggest proponent of this game, though, was left-handed pitcher Austin Hasbill of Spruce Creek. He threw strikes not only on the first pitch, but then after he had a strike on you, he followed up with another one as well. It seemed like throughout the entire game, he was ahead of the batter, little deception, low 80s fastball, 2022 grad. So nothing overpowering, but he really went after the lineup and just completely racked up the Ks, putting the lineup away and not really giving them a chance to put runners on base. It was a little bit of a 2-1, 3-1 affair. Spruce Creek was able to kind of get an early lead due to some errors and some walks. And then really after the fourth and fifth inning is when Spruce Creek just put it on them. They took advantage of some additional errors in the field, some really nice base running, and then obviously some timely hits. And they would go away, end up winning this thing 8-1, and really an affair that started tight, but ended with the home team really being quite ahead by quite a bit. So the one thing I will say, though, is that on Seabreeze was the number 3 batter, Brody Pezza. Went 2 for 3, single, double, and actually took advantage of some misplay out in the outfield and legged it out and got to third on the play. A lot of athleticism, quick bat, top of the lineup hitter, aggressive runner, everything you want to see out of someone that's batting in that spot. So he's one of the ones that while Seabreeze may have taken the loss in this one, he's a player that we really need to watch out for as we move forward throughout the season.
Sure, man. Sounds good. And as we move on to the next game, speaking of players we need to keep an eye out for, this was Longoria's day all the way, man. The 2023 right-hander ended up pitching a no-hitter with 16 Ks and only walked one batter. At the plate, he also added 2 doubles. One of them was just if the wind was a mile an hour faster, he would have had a homer off of it. All around amazing day for the guy. On the day as well, 2022, Colin Schultz added a 2-run homer over the left center wall. Chase Mobley ended the night as well with one for himself, going to left center as well. Plant City got off to a great start, dominated the rest of the way. Longoria just painted the corners, and once he saw his fastball was working, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And he just kept putting away batter after batter. Just a great night for the man himself and the team as well. And after that, I also went to the Vito Bishop Moore game. It was a little bit of a full week for me. I enjoy it. It was a back and forth game to start. 2022, Demoy Foy actually contributed 2 RBI doubles and open scoring for the Lions themselves. Josh Haggerty would end up tying the game at 2-2. But as soon as Robbie Mitchell went in the game for relief, Alvito ended up pulling away to a 9-2 win. Junior also added on offense in the last run. Mitchell ended up finishing 2.2 innings pitched with 3 strikes and 1 allowed hit. Great win for the Lions. And Mike, you also went to the Stoneman Douglas versus Taravela game as well, right?
Yeah, plenty of fanfare in this one. Taravela ends up getting the win here, but wow, there were quite a few prospects on the field. The starting pitcher for Stoneman Douglas, Christian Rodriguez, who we've had him up to 97 before, 2023 grad. Filthy changeup, really complements his fastball, and he was working early and often for the Eagles on his side. And then on the Taravela side, we had 2022 left-hand pitcher Chris Cinta, who pitches in the low 90s, draft prospect. I'm going to talk about him a little bit later on, but everything moves when he throws that ball. I mean, it's all over the place. It's much of an adventure if you're trying to go up against him as a hitter. And he featured a lot of off-speed stuff too that he really has an above-average feel for. So the pitching matchup was great. Another game that these guys went back and forth. Matthew Rubin on Taravela had a key 2-run double down the left field line that gave them the lead that they never surrendered. Stoneman Douglas would try to claw their way back into it, ended up falling a little bit short, 4-3. But in that last inning, one of the guys that we'll also touch on a little bit later was 2022 outfielder Roman Anthony on Stoneman Douglas, who is very, very high on draft boards from a prep overall perspective. Lots of potential. Some people have called him a baby Christian Yelich. There's a lot of it you can see with him. Left-handed power, athleticism, runs like a deer, everything you want to see out of a 5-tool prospect. So we'll touch on him a little bit later, but that game really featured a lot of high-end talent.
Gotcha. Definitely a great draft prospect game for sure. All right, and Jet, you're rounding us out. How was that Jesuit Plant game, man?
Yeah, I mean, for all the high school baseball games that I've been a part of and watched, this was probably one of the most exciting games I've ever been to. Early on in the game, it seemed like Plant was in control. I mean, Jesuit was hurting themselves. They had 3 early errors, which kind of got Plant's rally going on early on. For Plant, though, however, left-handed pitcher Robert Satan could not be touched at all. He actually struck out 7 of the first 9 batters he faced. He was consistently attacking the zone, and he's uncommitted as well, and he's also had a few hits in this game. So it was great to see from him. He has that funky 3/4 type arm angle. While he couldn't hold the Jesuits' big bats for long, he did definitely have a solid line: 3 innings pitched, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, and 7 Ks. So definitely a solid line for him. But like I said, Jesuit wasn't going to stay quiet for long. In the 3rd inning, they actually rallied with 2 outs. 2022 outfielder, second baseman, and Pittsburgh commit AJ Nessler, one of their big bats, had a triple to put his team on the board. And then his teammate and Vandy commit 2023 pitcher / outfielder Wes Mendez followed that up with a triple of his own to even this game at 2. Going into the bottom of the 7th, that's when all the drama really started to surface. Jesuit trailed by 1 heading into the bottom of the 7th. They had the bases loaded and 1 out. Uncommitted 2022 utility man Jack Martinez had a clutch walk-off double to bring in both runs, clinched the comeback for Jesuit. Martinez is actually off to a very strong start this season with a .429 batting average and 2 RBIs. Someone that I think deserves some more love in the scouting world. He's a prototypical leadoff guy, great bat-to-ball skills, athletic build. Some other great notable performances in this one. 2022 right-handed pitcher and FSU commit Ryan Dennison. While his defense wasn't helping him out early on, he went 4 strong innings, 2 hits, 1 earned run, and 5 Ks. Big frame, consistently engages his strong lower half, plus velo. There was a lot of guys in this game, especially in the middle of the order, that Jesuit lineup with Nessler, Mendez, and Kulikowski. Obviously going to be a strong season for this Jesuit team going forward, and they're still undefeated. And I expect us to hear more about this team as we get later into the season.
Sounds good. Well, those are the games from this past week. Let's take a look ahead to the slate and where we'll be seeing some different teams at for this upcoming week. All right, first up, we're going to be watching Lake Mary today, actually. I'm excited to see the arms for Lake Mary. Nico Halkis and Matthew Shumate, definitely. But also Ryan Ashford as well. Not only on the mound, but he can definitely swing it, man. Great feel for the barrel, and the power is only getting stronger with this kid as well. Also going to see Apopka later in this week as well. I'm excited to see more of Stinson. He's a quick arm, young for his year as well. He's only been adding and getting stronger. And I'm excited to see DeVita, whether it be on the mound or even at the plate. Last time he went 2 for 3 and definitely contributed to his team on offense. I'm excited to see Brady Roberts as well, along with Jacob Meyer, not only in defense, but also at the plate. These guys can really swing it too. And next up, Mike, going to be at Fletcher, correct?
Yeah, actually, today, and don't know a ton about Fletcher. Actually, really looking forward to finding out more about their overall team. They had a huge win against Bartram Trail last week, who I'm sure we'll speak on in the program throughout the rest of the season. But they're one of the top teams in the state, and who I'm going to be seeing today that I'm very excited about is, and who shut down that Bartram Trail team last week, was a right-handed pitcher by the name of Malachi Witherspoon. He's a 2022 grad, been up to 93. Obviously, there's been a lot of his stock from a draft perspective that has really started to rise. And from what I understand and looking at the stats correctly, he struck out 12 and 4.1 innings pitched. So only one of the outs was not by way of the strikeout. So I expect to see a lot of heat, a lot of swings and misses. They're going up against Ponte Vidra tonight, who still finding out who their starter is, but there's probably a good chance it might be Matt Hogue, 2024 left-handed pitcher, who we're very high on over here at Diamond Prospect Media. We've seen him a number of times, a lot of projection, big lefty, 89, 90. There's a lot more to add to that frame, and he's going to be someone that in a couple of years from now is really going to garner some attention at the next level.
Mm-hmm. And then, Jay, you'll be seeing the J.W. Mitchell game, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. This Friday, I'm going to be going to that game, and I got to see J.W. Mitchell for the first time in preseason action a few weeks back against East Lake. A lot of great names to watch from this team. I think the one that we're all very familiar with, 2023 infielder Aiden Miller. Obviously, he's an Arkansas commit. His brother was drafted to the Cincinnati Reds in 2020 in the second round. Aiden Miller now himself is a draft prospect to keep an eye on as we get closer to the MLB draft. Ball explodes off his bat. He already has a very physical physique. In the game that I went to, he had multiple hits, went deep in one of its at bats, and it's just a big name to watch. Also, 2022 catcher Hayden Cockman. He's a College of Central Florida commit. Another bat in the middle of this order. He has easy power, really engages his lower half on every swing. He also went deep at the game I attended, and he's pretty defensively sound behind the plate. So another guy to keep an eye out for. And then another guy that I was pretty impressed with, 2022 right-handed pitcher slash first baseman, Jace Troutner. He's an Indian River State College commit. He really impressed as a two-way player, long athletic frame with room to fill out. He really commanded the zone on the mound. Great bat to ball skills and definitely adds a little bit of pop with his bat. He also went deep. So this middle of the order between Miller, Cockman, and Troutner, really a threat for opposing pitchers to have to deal with. Great middle of the order, along with uncommitted 2023 pitcher and outfielder Christian Madera. He had a relief appearance in this one. Strong arm, strikeout stuff on the mound. Really can hit his spots. I think he's going to get stronger as the season goes on. He was a little rough at times, but overall a very strong outing from him. And then just two other names just to keep an eye out for as we go later into the season: Chase Nystrom and Vance Ciliberti. While they were quiet in the preseason action that I went to, I expect them to be just fine going forward, and definitely keep an eye out on them.
And Mike, up next, you got Cavalry Christian Clearwater. Bit of a tongue
Yeah.
twister there.
Yes, absolutely. You got to be specific, right? Since there's two of them, right? One in
Oh, for sure.
Lauderdale. Yeah. So, looking forward to this one. They play Tampa Catholic on Thursday. We'll be there for that. One of the standouts that we know, probably a lot of us here at Diamond Prospect Media, is Landon Morales, the two-way prospect, NC State commit, who we'll bring up another NC State guy later on in this, but the old Pac-9 commit,
Mm-hmm.
and wow, he can really do it all on the field. I mean, up the middle, great defender, smooth, very strong arm across the diamond, obviously because of his prowess on the mound. Hitting offensively wise, gap to gap hitter, and there's a lot of poolside juice as well. So I mean, he can change the game with one swing of the bat. But at the end of the day, probably his most upside is on the mound. He's been in the low 90s. The arm really works. It's loose. It's quick. The frame is really there. Shows a feel for his off-speed stuff as well. And there's a high swing and miss rate whenever he goes on the mound. So looking forward to possibly see him there. But I mean, at the end of the day, if I only see him in the field, that's okay too. There's a lot to like there in that regard. Another player I'll be looking at on Calvary Christian is 2022 infielder Matt Rose. We've had a lot of chances to see him in the past before, and the USF commit. If there's one thing I can say about him is he just always hits, always finds a way on base. Top of the order guy, present field for the barrel, quick hands through the zone, doesn't get cheated, takes a good at bat, doesn't swing at bad pitches. So everything that you want at the top of the order to have the chance to get someone on base, he checks all those boxes. And then another one that I'm looking forward to seeing is infielder Miles Curley, who big, strong frame, and talk about someone with some power can change the game also with one swing of the bat. And of course, if he doesn't put one over the fence, he can put it deep into the gaps in the outfield as well for an extra base hit. So there's a lot of opportunity for this Calvary Christian lineup to put some runs on the board, and I expect to see that there on Thursday night.
For sure. Sounds good. And I think that rounds it out because you talked about Tampa Catholic as well, correct?
Yeah, Tampa Catholic as well. Now, not as familiar with them either, but I'll tell you what, they have a younger group of players on their team that I'm
Hmm.
I'm really looking forward to see. The game is actually at their place; it's at home, so they'll have some of that cooking, if you will, and hopefully, I'm looking to see them put up quite a battle against a team that, well, let's be honest, Calvary Christian Clearwater will most likely be in the mix throughout the end of the season, throughout all the way, a chance to make their way to states eventually.
And to everybody on these teams, we cannot wait to see you guys in attendance. And to any players that we didn't mention by chance, we'd love to see you as well. Go out there and perform, man. Can't wait to see you.
Yeah.
Jet, thank you for joining us. You're going to have to scoot over at some point.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem, of course, man. All right, next up, we're going to talk with Mike about some upcoming draft prospects he's highlighted for the 2022 draft and some uncommitted players as well to keep an eye out for.
Absolutely. So I think first we'll start with Luke Heyman. That seems like a good place
Hmm.
to start. And Kennedy, I know you have plenty of experience there because it seems like, well, I think this is more Luke, but it seems like every time you go to a game, he does something special. And I think that's exactly the way I would describe Luke Heyman. He's a special ball player. Um, I think last year when you went to the playoff game, he hit, what, 3 home runs in one game? Um,
3 home runs, and Merce ruled him early, too, man.
yeah, yeah. And then I think the most recent game that you went to, he hit a home run as well, right?
Hmm.
So, from a draft perspective, he checks a lot of the boxes. The power's obviously there. He's an above average hitter. The arm behind the plate defensively, I think, Kennedy, you do a great job of catching Luke Heyman whenever you go to the game. You caught him throwing out a runner at first from
Hmm.
behind the plate, totally caught him napping. And besides him picking off runners, he can also throw plenty of guys out from behind the plate too. So the defensive prowess is there. He's physical. He's strong. He's an offensive hitting catcher. And from a draft perspective, he's everything you want out of a prep bat in that area.
Sounds good for sure. And I can't take any credit, man. He just happens to keep showing up, and I'm there with the
Every
camera.
time, every time. Must just do it for.
Hmm.
That's got to be what it is.
Hey, who knows? Whatever floats your boat.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right, next up, we got Justin Nada out of Bartram Trail High School.
yeah. And talked about Barkham Trail a little bit earlier. Maybe not how they wanted it to be, but at the end of the day, they are a lineup that is filled with offensive firepower. And wow, Justin, I mean, he has the chance to, well, I think we've used this word a couple of times throughout, change the game with his bat as well. Left handed hitter, really, he exudes a bit of quite a bit of confidence whenever he steps to the plate. It's almost like whenever he steps in the box, he knows he's going to do something, and he's very aggressive with it. Um, put a ball over the center field wall during the game I was at for a grand slam, and he knew it right off the bat. And I think the bat flip about 20 feet in the air probably showed that as well, that he knew it too. So got a little swag to him. I like that.
Hmm.
He knows he's up there to drive in runs and make an impact, and he sure could do it. So I mean, here's the thing. Even when he gets out, it's a loud out. Like one of his outs during the game was a screamer to the left center field gap that the outfielder happened to get a good jump on and make. So even when you get him out, it's a tough out. And from a draft perspective, left-handed hitting guy like that, I mean, the athleticism is there. He's a North Florida commit. I think he's going to be someone that is going to be watched heavily as we dip into the next few months here. He's just a professional hitter. Professional hitter.
And we're ending on two guys we talked about earlier. The first being Chris Cinta of Taravela.
Chris Cinta, yeah, we touched on him earlier, and I really like Chris. He's got a lot of potential. He's a Miami commit. Obviously, we know he throws in the low 90s. He has a feel for his off-speed stuff, but he really knows how to pitch. Like he goes after the batter. He finds out what their weaknesses are, works away, inside, throws him a little bit of a deceptive kind of delivery that creates some timing issues for the batter. So he has the chance to really make it quite an adventure when you're going up against him in the batter's box. So I expect him to be closely followed as well, especially in the South Florida area. I mean, a left-hander that's, low 90s and really a lot of pitchability with some above average stuff is always going to garner some attention.
For sure. And the last man we're ending with, Roman Anthony out of Stoneman Douglas.
Roman Anthony, yes, we've watched him for quite a while now, and he's really come into his own. He's performed on some of the biggest stages and some of the biggest events over the past year. And as I mentioned earlier, he's got everything that you're looking for from a five-tool player perspective. He can hit for power, he can hit for average. He's got an above-average arm. He's more than capable of being an above-average runner, and he makes the plays in the outfield. I mean, he can go and get the ball, cut it off in the gap, but he's the top of the lineup hitter, and his frame it really allows people to kind of dream on what he could be in the future. So there's a lot to look at right there. He's, as I mentioned earlier, he's going to be top of the list when it comes to prep prospects that are leading up to the draft here, and it wouldn't be surprising me if a team really falls in love with him.
For sure, man. And hopefully MLB gets their stuff together so we can see what these guys do at the next level, huh?
Yes, hopefully that's today.
Mm-hmm. All right. And next up, College Player of the Week. Is it even a question at this point, Mike? In 8 games, he has 9 home runs and 29 RBI. That's just insane. It's Tommy Tanks. Come on now.
Oh man, yeah. I was about to say that hashtag is going out there right now. Hashtag Tommy Tanks. But yes, of course, Tommy White, Pac 9, another Pac 9 guy that we're bringing into the conversation today. And gosh, I mean, when he was at IMG, he would hit some tape measure home runs. So to see him doing this on the collegiate stage, I guess doesn't surprise me. But to do it at the rate that he's been doing out of the gate is nothing short of unbelievable. I mean, for him to take the college baseball world by storm, let's just call it what it is, over the
Mm-hmm.
first couple of weeks is pretty insane as a freshman. And he's going to be someone that obviously is going to be a huge part of their lineup going forward. And you can circle his name now. Next time he's available in the draft, someone's going to take him.
Oh, for sure. And to echo what you said a little bit, he was at the youth level playing high school ball just a year ago. And to now see him look like a man against boys, I mean, it is just scary.
Yes, it's a good way to put it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that was a College Player of the Week. And next up, we're going to look at some uncommitted players that you should be keeping an eye out for, also known as Mike's Likes for the week. Mike,
Yeah,
who do you got?
yeah. So, and you highlighted, I believe, two of these earlier, but
Mm-hmm.
we'll start with the first two that you touched on, and then I'll throw in another one in there. Is obviously 2023 right-hand pitcher Aiden Longoria. I mean, threw a no-hitter when you were there, 16 strikeouts. We know all that. Up to 91 miles an hour, and that's been quite a jump for Aiden. We're used to seeing him in the 85, 87, touching 88 range, but this time around, he's clearly put in the work in the offseason. I mean, there's no doubt about that. 87, 90, touching 91 now, showing a much better feel for his breaking ball, and his changeup to complement his fastball is really something that's working. So to see that he's striking out people at a high rate doesn't surprise me, just because of the ability he has with all three of those pitches. But make no doubt about it, that jump in velocity has really, really helped his upside on the mound. And with a kid his size, I mean, he's going to continue to fill out, grow. someone down the line here that might just be pitching in the low 90s by the end of the season or the summer. So he's one that, with his frame and the ability he has, he's going to be someone that will be on draft list for next year. Circle him
Hmm.
now. He's someone that you're going to have to keep an eye on.
For sure, man. And our next arm that we covered earlier as well, Mr. Robbie Mitchell.
Robbie Mitchell, talk about another hard worker. This kid has put in tons of effort over the offseason, really noticeably has become more physical, especially in his lower half. The arm has become much more quicker and compact through the zone, 85, 88 now, and he's every bit of it. I think the biggest thing about Robbie, though, is that not only is he up there from a velocity standpoint as a 2024 now to garner plenty of attention, but his secondary stuff is above average. His changeup is falls off the table, and then we know what his slider, the potential there is very high RPM rate, the ability to generate swings and misses, good pitch to throw with two strikes, can make it look like it's in the zone and then quickly out of the zone with two strikes, forcing a bad swing on the batter. So there's a lot of potential there. I have a very strong follow on him, throughout the rest of the season here, especially on that Oviedo team. He's going to play an integral part of being in the rotation, whether it be relief or as a starter. So he's another one to really keep an eye on here.
Hmm. And to wrap up our Mike Slice for this week is Steven DeSalvia.
Yeah, so Stefan, he's really another, and I think the biggest thing about this, Kennedy, is that these three guys that we've talked about have noticeably put in the work over the
Hmm.
offseason. They've become much more physical, so it's clear they've been hitting the weights. They've been working on their craft, and he's another one here. I mean, he went into the game and not only went 2 for 3, which was, obviously an impact offensively, but he struck out 9 and allowed only one run over 5 innings of work. His fastball's been up to 85. Yes, he's a 2023 grad, but the athleticism is really there, and you can already see some of the increased physicality that has started to translate to his overall game. So I expect him to continue to trend upwards. He's on Foundation Academy, hitting right behind someone named Braden Holcomb, who, if you're in the batting order and you're around him, that's a pretty good spot to be. So
Oh, yeah.
he has a good opportunity to get some pitches he likes to see there. So I expect him to both continue on the mound and offensively, and another 2023 grad that is going to get plenty of looks, especially as we inch closer to the summer here.
For sure, definitely. Well, that wraps up our show for this week. Thank you, Mike, as always, for coming on, breaking down everything with us.
Absolutely. Appreciate you having me. Looking forward to doing this every week. And I think our game plan going forward, we'll have this out on Monday. We wanted to kind of start things off March 1st today, our opening kind of segment here. So look for these episodes of Across the Diamond to come out every Monday going forward. And it'll include pretty much, everything we talked about here. Recap of the games we're at, what we're looking forward to seeing, some draft prospects. And I'm sure as we go through the season here, Kennedy, we'll find some more things to toss in.
Oh, without a doubt. I'm sure the content's just going to roll into this.